we are live and chat is working, so we're good there.
Okay, beautiful morning here on Thursday, the 15th for our regular board meeting. We'll get started here. Please, if you're not speaking, put your Zoom on mute so we don't get any background interference. And with that, the invocation will be given by Commissioner Meeks and the pledge will be given by Commissioner Scott.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we come to you today for you to help us govern the county of Berrien, for we can make the best decisions that we can for our citizens. And I would like to say a special prayer, throughout Berrien County and this country for the people that have lost their loved ones, and to help them heal. In the name of God Jesus, I pray, amen.
Amen. You please remain standing and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Bell,
Present via Zoom from the city of St. Joseph.
Curran,
Present via Zoom, Niles Township.
Freeling,
Present via Zoom, Baroda Township.
Harrison, Hinkleman,
Present, Watervliet.
Majerick. He's on.
He just texted saying, yes, he's on. He's trying to talk.
Oh, so he is the other person. All right.
Meeks,
Present via Zoom, Ben Charter Township.
Scott,
Present via Zoom, New Buffalo Township.
Borat,
I'm here zooming in from Coloma Township.
Wolfeld,
Present via Zoom, back in Royalton Township.
Okay,
Oh, there he is. Commissioner Jarrett.
can anybody hear me?
No.
Yeah.
Thank you, Annette.
and where's he at?
Commissioner Jarrett, where are you present from on Zoom?
Michael Majerick from Chattanooga, Tennessee. At a Citgo gas station.
Yarborough,
She's not on here yet. Oh, wait, here she's coming. Hang on.
Johnson City, Tennessee.
All right, there she is.
Yarborough,
She's got to get unmuted. Hold on. There you go, Mamie.
Here. Thank you.
You're doing the roll call, Mamie.
Present.
Via
Zoom, City of Benton Harbor.
okay, 10 are present.
Is that it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All of us have received the minutes from the April 8th, 2021 meeting. What I'm looking for now is a motion to accept the minutes.
Commissioner Meeks make that motion.
I'm looking for a support.
Supports.
Meeks and Freeling. Are there any discussions, any additions, deletions, corrections? Seeing that they're done, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Curran,
Yes.
Freeling,
Yes.
Hinkleman,
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Meeks.
Yeah.
Scott,
Yes.
Borat,
Yes.
Learfold,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
10 yeas, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Communications. Madam Clerk, you're up again.
Dr. Carla Jackson Johnson of the South County Republicans mailed in a petition on April 12th. The petition was signed urging the Berrien County Board of Commissioners to join other counties in resisting the current and possible unilateral orders given by Governor Whitmer and state agencies in response to the coronavirus. Second communication was from the Sheboygan County Board of Commissioners, an email received April 13th with Resolution 2109 supporting passage of legislation to adopt 4-year terms for county commissioners. And that's all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, did everybody receive those? All right, seeing that we received them, thank you, Madam Clerk. We're into presentations. This is the Dispatcher of the Year Award by Caitlin Sampsel. Caitlin?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we are in our training room here at the Dispatch Center up at Berrien County. Hopefully Niles will be able to join us as well. And we have Jack Fisher, who is the chair of our 911 Advisory Committee. He's going to do the presentation for us of our Telecommunicator of the Year for this past year. I am very blessed that I'm able to be joined by 2 of our dispatch staff, both Sarah Blurden and Cassidy Pointer. But unfortunately, our other nominee, Tyler Prenkert, is on night shift, and so he's not able to join us this morning. But we'll still be recognizing him during this meeting, and I appreciate your time. Jack, would you please go through the nominations for us?
Certainly. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, I see heads nodding. Very good. Caitlin, as she said, I'm Jack Fisher. I'm also the Executive Director of Medical Money Ambulance and also your 911 Board Chairman. It's my pleasure to present to the Berrien County Commissioners the 4 nominees for Dispatcher of the Year. The first one that I have here is for Cassidy Pointer. Cassidy is extremely attentive to her team and very much hands-on when it comes to teamwork. She is easy to work with and possesses strong leadership skills. She makes you want to be a Danny and proud, happy, and confident when walking through these doors every day. And I had to look up what Danny meant. That's actually someone who's actually a perfect person, does an excellent job, and you want to be more like them. So that's number 1. Number 2, Sarah Blurton is always willing to answer questions and help train someone in something that they may have a question or unfamiliar on. She finds ways to help people understand the ways and the what ifs and goes the extra mile to gain the knowledge. And if she doesn't not understand it or knows herself, she will get that information for you. Training, she figured out training materials to help better understand and break down the different channels to effectively and efficiently in that job. A team player, great training, willing to lend a hand when needed, and even though she is not always on the floor, now is always willing to help out in these things when they get crazy. She's also willing to answer questions as well. She's a great resource. She continues to strive to improve the workplace, the work environment, the overall job, and to make the desired for a place to work and continue to provide training and development on new ways of doing things. She is adaptive to different situations and calls the job and brings continues resources and a continued resource for the current employees. Number 3 is Earl Schaefer. He's from Niles. He's become a valuable asset to the team through the Niles City Police Department Dispatch Center. He's been nominated for his peer to be considered Telecommunicator for the Year. Dispatcher Schaefer has been described as a very helpful partner, willing to go the extra mile for others. He takes the extra time to seek out answers to questions, callers, making sure that the information needed is there. Dispatch Schaefer has also been described, as having a calm demeanor, which has aided him in quickly gathering vital information, helping responders' efforts to quickly make the scene and render the aid during an emergency situation. As one of his coworkers stated, All in all, Dispatcher Schaefer is an awesome partner to work with and a great dispatcher. He is a person who will go above and beyond to help anyone who calls and anyone at work who needs assistance on a routine basis. And my last and final nominee for Dispatcher of the Year is Tyler Prentke. He was nominated as Dispatcher of the Year for the fire call in New Buffalo, where the handicapped lady was saved on December 31st, 2020. He stayed on the line with her and encouraged her to get out the wheelchair and yell out the back bedroom, willing to help so the responders could find her easy. She could have been potentially burned if Tyler didn't step up and think of the ways to assist her in saving her life. Tyler is a strong dispatcher. He is an asset to the center and a supervisor and the supervisory staff. He has a great perception when dealing with the needs of the police, fire, and EMS. He maintains a calm demeanor and self-control when faced with extreme situations, whether on the radio or on the phone. He is able to reason through complex, multifaceted calls and determine a solid course of action. He can easily keep pace with the room activity and helps out coworkers when he sees them struggling or inundated with a heavy workload. Supervisors trust his intuition and look at him as an exemplary employee to newer staff, setting a good standard of how to be a confident dispatcher. This fire call exhibits all of his qualities and actions. He was very calm, and his demeanor helped bring the caller's anxiety down to a level where he could instruct her on how to help save her own life. He was very empathetic and quickly assessed the situation to come up with the viable options for the caller to hence her being handicapped. This call was just one excellent bullet point in his overall performance, but one that supervisors believe should be recognized for a job well done, as he is a well-rounded telecommunicator and representative of Berrien County that he is proud to have on the staff of the Berrien County Public Safety Communications Center. So it is my privilege and honor to tell the Berrien County Board of Commissioners that Tyler Prinkert is the winner for this year's Telecommunicator of the Year.
I love all of the silent clapping.
Yeah, it's a muted clap.
I know, yeah.
The golf clap.
We will present this award to Tyler when he comes back on duty. Thank you very much for doing the presentation, Jack. And we are so lucky here to have all of our staff at Niles as well, to have their dedicated staff. This is 911 week nationally. And so this is a special week that we take to recognize all of the 911 call takers and dispatchers, formerly known as telecommunicators, and their efforts to protect the public and the responders out in the field. And so again, thank you for your time and for allowing us to come before you today, commissioners. We really appreciate that, and everybody's heartfelt wishes that we've received this week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It should be noted that we in Berrien County have some of the best dispatchers, in my mind, in the state of Michigan. And all of us, Tyler just happened to put one little piece over the edge, but I think all of the nominees are also dispatchers of the year. Even though Tyler was given the award, I'm just very thankful to our dispatchers. I don't think I could do that job. All right, thank you. Next on our list is the 2021 Equalization Report by Warren Parrish. I know most of the commissioners have been waiting with bated breath to hear this, and Warren, you're up.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. Hello, everyone. I want to just take a quick moment to introduce myself to our district's 5 and 6 commissioners. I'm Warren Parrish, your Equalization Director. I'm looking forward to working with you going forward. I also brought with me today Katie Bauer, who is our Deputy Equalization Director. I wanted to introduce her as well because you may hear from her from time to time. So with that, let's talk about equalization. I'm going to try to share my screen here, if you give me just a moment. There we go. So there are two main functions of, well, there's numerous functions of the equalization department, but there's two times in the year that you'll typically hear from me. And the first being now in April to approve the equalization report and the equalized assessment values. This is actually a function of the Board of Commissioners. In the Michigan Constitution, it's required and it's spelled out exactly what needs to be done. And it is the equalization department which serves as your arm in accomplishing this process, because it's rather involved. The second time that you typically hear from me is in the fall for the apportionment report. That is the approval of the millage rates that are levied throughout Berrien County. Before I get into the equalization report too much, I want to just highlight some of the things from last year that are worth standing out. Most of this stuff is pretty routine. It's stuff that we deal with on an annual basis. We always participate in auditing the local assessment rolls. We always calculate the millage rollbacks for every taxing unit within the county. We perform our land value studies and our economic condition factor studies. And this year in 2020, we conducted 37 sales studies and 75 appraisal studies, which covered more than 1,100 individual appraisals. And I'll be commenting on that a little bit more as we move on. We always have helped with the GASB 7.7 reporting and the budget preparation, but something I really want to highlight, it's an exciting situation for the equalization department because I was appointed the director last year. Actually, last year when I presented this report, I wasn't technically the director at that time, but I've now since been appointed, which has been fantastic because that has enabled me to promote Katie to replace me as the deputy director, which has been incredibly valuable to the department. We've also filled our last vacancy with an appraiser, which is also outstanding news because this is the first time in some 2.5 years that we've been fully staffed. So we're on an excellent trajectory with that. I'm also pleased to report that 2 of our appraisers have furthered their education in obtaining their Michigan Certified Assessing Officer certifications. That's a big deal. That's fantastic news. It's always good to see our staff improving themselves and becoming more proficient in this field. So now let's talk about the equalization report itself. First and foremost, the report is a compilation of the level of assessment for each class of property within each local unit of government. So what that means is if a property classification exists, whether that's agricultural property, commercial property, residential, industrial, you go down the list. If it exists, we have to study it. And we have to study it within each township and city. So from that study, if the level of assessment is not within the statutory required 49 to 50% of the value projected from the study, then that class has to be adjusted to reach the 50%. That takes the form of a county factor, where we would be applying a factor for a local municipality to adjust that classification so that it meets the 50% requirement. It happens from time to time, but I am pleased to report that this year I am not recommending any factors. I am recommending that the values you are approving here today be equalized at the same value as they have been approved at the local level, because every township and city has fallen within that required 49 to 50%. So that's a good thing. But it happens from time to time, and there's always, an explanation for it. But we're good this year. In addition to that, the report breaks down all of the values in pretty much every way you can imagine. It's a rather lengthy, extensive report if you've had a chance to look through it. It's the same report that we've, format-wise, that we've provided in past years, but it's a lot of information, and it's very helpful to not only determine what the basis for the tax collection of the upcoming year will be, but also to forecast potentially budgets for townships, cities, schools, and so forth. So Going forward, I'm just going to be talking about some of the high-level stuff that's contained in the report. I'm not going to go through the whole report because, again, it's rather extensive. You, of course, have your breakout of real property and personal property, but the number I want to draw your attention to is down here, your all properties, they're combined real and personal. We're seeing from last year a 3.15% increase in the equalized valuation, but in the taxable value, this bottom number, that's the number that's relevant for budgeting because that's what the levy is against. We're looking at a 2.96% increase from last year. That is a rather high number. It's actually the highest number that we've seen since 2014, which was a bit of a surprise. There was a lot of unknowns with the onset of COVID, and the market is always a difficult thing to predict, but this is where we're at, and it's a good thing. We're seeing growth, so that's our situation. Going ahead here, I'm just going to remark on some of the content in the report. This is just an example of one of the charts, and it breaks out the assessed or the equalized value in this case of every classification of property, real property in the county. You can see that residential property predominantly carries the most value. It's not surprising, we're a rather large county. We have almost 100,000 parcels, so this is what that breakdown looks like. My next slide is just another example of a chart that you'll see in the equalization report. It's the same chart, but of the taxable value. Not surprising, it more or less mirrors what the assessed value is doing, in that your pie slices are relatively the same proportions, but that gives you the breakdown nonetheless. It's interesting to see. Moving ahead here is another chart that's in the report. This one is pretty neat because it shows the disparity between taxable value and equalized value. Because it's actually possible for you to have a situation where your equalized value is going down, but your taxable value is still going up until it hits that equalized value. So this just kind of illustrates how there is that gap between the two values. And this also illustrates how our 2.96% increase here is the largest that we've seen since, again, 2014, which on its own was a bit of an outlier. So we've seen now for the last several years pretty linear increases in taxable value going forward. And again, this chart is just neat because it shows that gap. If we look at this next chart, this shows you the gap all the way back to 1994. Why that's relevant is because 1994 is when Proposal A was passed, which created taxable value. Prior to that, there was no such thing as taxable value, and everything was based on just the assessed or the equalized value, as it were. So this just illustrates that gap being created, and then what it looks like, the curve going all the way up to the present year. This next chart just shows that same gap, the difference between equalized and taxable value over the last 10 years. It's just displayed differently, and you can see that the margin over the last 10 years has been relatively the same for the most part, but it's still interesting to look at. The last chart I want to show you just shows the percent change in equalized value and taxable value for each township or city. This is just a neat overview of to see what's happening or what has happened from last year to current year within each of the local municipalities. But with that, I don't really have anything else to go over as far as what's in the report. I have prepared a resolution for you that will approve the equalized valuations that I'm recommending, as well as several forms to sign the 4024 statement of acreage and valuations, which would certify these numbers, as well as the 4037s for each municipality, which would state the county equalizing the values at the same level as was assessed this year. So that's what I have at the moment. I am more than happy to address any questions that you have.
Thank you, Warren. Commissioners, any questions on the equalization report?
Yes, Vice Chairperson Scott, I would like to ask, Warren, I thank you for all that you do, and thank you for introducing your Deputy Director to us. I look forward to seeing her. When I look on this chart, some of the first lines, it said equalize TV. And then I don't know how to read this number. Is this what billions look like? 8,497,330,342?
That is correct, yes. That is the taxable value of the TV. That's 8,497,330, or excuse me, 8,497,330,342.
That's beautiful. Is that times 2 or is it just the SEV that's times 2?
It's the SEV times 2. So with that, the total value of the county for the true cash or the market value is just shy of 21 billion.
Good Lord. Thank you.
Right? I actually polled the office and I asked everyone to estimate the county value, and we were all dramatically low in our guesses.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Warren? Okay, seeing if there's no other questions.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes, go ahead, Mamie.
I would like to add to that, as finance chairperson, Warren was in and talked with us, and we asked him to hold on to the numbers and do it for the full board. But what I asked him about is if those booklets were done, and he said he had not printed them yet. And what we came out of our finance committee suggesting that he does first is with our administrator Dissette and with Annette, put together to be able to send these books out over the computer, the way he sent them to us. You all have it. Because I wonder when we give it to those communities, do they use the book, or would it be good for it to be online for them to constantly check it back and forth? And that might save some on printing, with the caveat that if they wanted a printed book, it could be done. And so we'd like to try that first, and kind of, if you all have any thoughts about it, do you have any discussion you would like to do? Thank you.
Thank you, Mamie. Good point. Are there any questions at all of Warren or of what Mamie just discussed about the books being available online rather than printed? Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Not related to the book, but I wanted to just take this moment in the general board meeting to thank Warren and his staff. I know that I mentioned it in Finance Committee, but this is a really data-rich report. It's a lot of great information for our different municipalities, and also for us as commissioners to sort of be able to forecast and use that to be proactive in the way that we make decisions moving forward for Berrien County. So thank you, Warren. Katie, pleasure to see you virtually, and thank you for all of your hard work. Please pass that on to the rest of the staff.
Thank you, Commissioner Freeling.
Thank you, Commissioner Freeling. Entertain any other questions or comments? Seems to be a little lag time, so I'll wait a second here. If there are none, thank you very much for that outstanding report, Warren.
Yes.
Yes. With that being said, our next thing on the agenda is the committee reports. And the admit committee is up first. Chairman Curran.
Thank you, Ezra. Thank you. The administration committee met this morning at 8 a.m. and we have 3 resolutions on the consent calendar for you today. The first 2 resolutions come from the friend of the court, and we had Tom Watson from the friend of the court in to see us this morning, and Commissioner Werfel is going to report out on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We, as Jim had said, we had a presentation from Tom Watson, our friend of the court director, regarding resolutions 196 and 197. And those both are a culmination of combining the friend of the court and the prosecutor's office, the contracts with the state of Michigan, and DHHS, and MGT contract is 197. For the remainder of this year, actually dating back to January of 2021 through September. And then that's how it will be going forward as well, from October going forward in the new year for their budgets. So that's what those 2 resolutions are about, and I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Julie. Are there any questions? Okay, next item, we had Paul Janka Jr., our Chief Public Defender, in to see us. And that is a resolution that ends in 4199. Annually, the Public Defender's Office puts together a budget. That budget request is then sent to the state for approval, and that's how we fund the bulk of our Public Defender's Office. And so in the resolution that you see on the consent calendar, the fiscal year 2022 budget is requesting $4,077,849 from the state. And our share, our county share, is $569,469.67. Paul would like to make some changes to this year's plan. And Paul did a very good job of putting together supporting documentation for these changes. And I will highlight them. And if there are any questions, either myself or I see Paul's in the room, would be happy to answer them. I think most of you are aware that when MIDC created the MIDC and our Public Defender's Office, which I think was in 2017, they had standards that the state set that they wanted compliance with. They wanted us to meet. We have to date received 4 standards that we have been complying with. And for fiscal year 2022, the state would like us to comply with standard number 5. Now, standard number 5 basically is judicial independence, separating the court from the Public Defender's Office. And so the task of screening clients for either indigence or partial indigence has been conducted by the court. And now that will be, that task is now being assigned to the Public Defender's Office. So to meet that added demand, Paul would like to add 2 public defender positions and reclassify the office manager to an office administrator to account for the added work and to better clarify the work being done. The second change that Paul is requesting is to add a social worker position. I think everyone is aware that they have 1 social worker position now, and he would like to add another social work position to help support that position. The the guidance set down by MIDC deals with adult criminal activity. And it's been noted that there is time allocated from the public defender staff to non-adult activity time, which would be family division, juvenile, that type of thing, child protective services. And so what Paul is recommending is that he has estimated the percentage of time that his staff spends on non-adult criminal proceedings, and would like to have the county pick up a portion of that. And he estimates that to be for 2022, $9,720.27. The last thing that Paul brought to us in this proposed budget is a COVID-19 expenditure. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic over the past year, they're very much backlogged, as the entire court system is, and he anticipates that he is going to go over in a portion of his budget that would then be reimbursed by the state for those expenditures. And I believe that's all I have on that. And that resolution again is on the agenda, on the consent calendar for today. And again, the reason being that these resolutions have timelines that need to be met. And that's why we couldn't wait and introduce them at this meeting and approve them at the following meeting. We did have Chris Cook in with us this morning. Chris just basically introduced himself, told us a little bit about the road department and some of the projects going on and how excited he is to get started out there and get going. He seemed very positive in that regard. One other thing that that I would like to mention is that when Tom Watson was in to see us this morning, he informed us that he is retiring in July of this year. So obviously we wish Tom well and appreciate all the work and effort he has done for Berrien County. And Mr. Vice Chair, I believe that is our report. If any of the admin commissioners have any comments, or if the commissioners have any questions, I'd be happy to take those now.
Commissioner report. Any questions for the chair? Jim, I have one question. On the change of, how do we call it, title of the person doing the job, is any of those things they're requesting, are any of those tied to grant funding, or are those a complete pickup by the county?
No, those are all grant funding.
Okay.
The only portion that would be picked up would be the percentage of time, that 9,700 and something. But no, otherwise everything else is picked up by the MIDC grant. And I did forget to mention, and I appreciate the question, Ezra, that this is to apply for the grant. Once the grant is received, we will need to take action to receive the grant. What I have asked is that once it's been received, that it is reviewed again by the administration committee, and then it'll go from the administration committee to PHSC, because I want PHSC to vet the information. I want Shelley Jasper involved, you know, like you said, in that change from an office manager to an office administrator. I want PHSC and Shelley to weigh in on all those changes before it's brought back to this full board for final approval.
All right, thanks, because I know the last time that we discussed public defenders, the attorneys that were hired, that was a grant funded, and if the funding goes away, so does their positions in the county. And that's what I was wondering about. You understand why, because at some point in time, I have the feeling the state is going to really cut back on public defender funding. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, and I appreciate that that question, Ezra, because it is in the resolution. If you look at, I think, the second to the last or the last whereas, it states right in there that if the funding is not there, those positions do not exist anymore. So
right.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yes, thanks, Jim. Are there any other comments or questions to the chair?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I have a question. Thank you. Commissioner Curran, this is Rayate Bell. You said that they wanted to also hire an additional social worker. Can you repeat how many social workers they currently have?
Okay, the Public Defender's Office currently has one social worker.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Jim, you were muted. Jim, you were muted, but I think we got the idea.
Yes.
All right.
Did you hear my answer?
Yes.
I think when you held up your fingers like this, I think we got the idea.
Okay.
All right. Are there any other questions for the chair of admin? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the finance committee. Chairman Mamie Yarborough.
Thank you very much. What I would like to ask is for Commissioner Freeling, our finance committee member, to talk to us about the bids that we opened and the request for waivers.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This morning in Finance Committee, we did open 2 bids. The first one was bid 2021-37 for the Sheriff's Department, and it is for AEDs, which are defibrillators. We sent the bid out to 4 and received 4 responses back. It was for 38 units to replace those that have expired throughout the jail and cars and things like that. So we received those 4 bids and have sent it back to staff to review. The other bid that we opened this morning was 2021-40. This is for the road department. This is related to asphalt and maintenance. We sent it out to 4, received 3 replies back. And this was related to different types of material that we utilize for resurfacing roads. The other items that we had in front of us were 4 waivers. I know that this committee has talked to the rest of the board related to our purchasing policy and a new process that we have in place. Oh, I think I froze. Am I back
Yes,
yet?
I can hear you.
You're back. Yes.
Okay. I think that I had stopped talking with relation to the waiver forms and the purchase policy that we have in place. And so we received 4 waiver forms. The first one that we had was for Vance Outdoors related to the Sheriff's Department for ammunition. The Sheriff's Department had sent out for 5 different quotes. They received 2 back. Ammunition is really hard to come by, as in most things within the chain of supply. We're really finding a lot of interruption, and this is needed for training for our officers. And so we moved forward with that for a quote of $4,300 for 40 caliber ammunition, I believe is what my notes state here. We also had another waiver for the Sheriff's Department with regards to framing some photos for staff. They do this about every 4 years, where they actually like to keep documentation of those who have served within the department. And so there was a request to single source for waterfront framing in the amount of $1,062. We also had a request from the Parks Department for sand leveling out at Silver Beach. They asked to go with the vendor L.E. Barber for the amount of $4,900. The interesting thing about this particular vendor is that the Parks Department has worked really well with them. And this company understands the uniqueness of the topographic region of Silver Beach. And so the other thing is that they've never increased the rate that they have asked since, I believe, 2010. And then the last item was from the Sheriff's Department, and this was a request to purchase a canine, a narcotics dog for our jail. And this dog would be strictly used for contraband within the jail and other areas for the Sheriff's Department. But one of the things that the Undersheriff Chuck Height had specified is that this dog is a non-bite canine, and so it is strictly used for the purpose of finding those items that are contraband within our jail. Madam Chair, those are my notes for our bids.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And then I would like to continue. We have a number of resolutions that will be presented for the full board approval on April 22nd. One of them, ending in number 209, is a resolution, and it is prepared for us every year by John Axe. And it's the annual delinquent tax fund. And our treasurer, Shelley White, was in the room so that should we have questions, she would have been able to expound or, give us more answers. But we were able to understand it, and that will be coming to the full board for approval. Then we had Warren Parrish, director of our equalization department. And it was, he talked to us a bit about the annual equalization report, and our desire was that he wait and be able to present it to the full board, which he just equally did well. And we were so pleased that we are 2.96% higher in property value for Berrien County, the highest number since 2014. And then I explained to you about what we came to about that book being online. It is automatically, he will put it online for any, person that wants to see it. But we do present them to all 12 of us have so many communities that we work with, and we usually take them, to them. But this way, on being online, they'll all be there at the same time, and it may be a real good solution and probably save us money for all the printing that we do on those books. And then our Director of Economic Development, Community Development, Dan Fetty, came and talked to us about brownfield property that we've been asked to work with Benton Charter Township on to be developed into a 40-unit apartment complex off M63. It's at Enterprise Way, and Dan explained to us that it's right about where the new fire station is on what's the name of the street? I just said it and I've lost the name. Anyway, Enterprise Way. It'll be right there. And next week he will come because it's necessary to hold a public hearing. So at our 10:30 Berrien County Board meeting, there will be a public hearing on the brownfield development. Now, Benton Charter Township has brownfield also, but they asked Berrien County to come in and work with this. We're a larger, company, larger computers able to do it, that we will work with them. And so you'll get to hear that next week. And then we had the road payables, bill payables, and we accepted the minutes. So I'd like to ask our committee members, are there any other things that should be brought? If not, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Any questions for the Finance Chair? Okay, seeing that there's none,
Thank you.
we will move to our next agenda item, which is public comments regarding only the resolutions on the agenda today. This is just for that. And we will wait to hear from Annette.
I've actually been checking a couple of times. You're good for the public comments regarding resolutions.
All right, thank you so much. Just as a note, everybody, we are so thankful to all of the staff that work at the admit building. Without them, we wouldn't be able to handle and run these meetings the way they need to be run. And I just wanted to make that comment. With that being said, we have the consent calendar. Would anybody like any of the resolutions pulled from the consent calendar for separate discussion? Okay, seeing that there is none, I'm going to call for a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented.
Mr. Vice Chair, this is Commissioner Curran. I will make that motion.
Thank you, sir. And support?
Support.
Hey, I'm getting a little lag time for some reason, so I'm just kind of waiting it out, you know? Who was that did the support?
It was Freeling.
Okay. It's been properly moved and supported. Are there any discussions about any of this that's on the consent calendar today? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Freeling.
Yes.
Pinkelman.
Yes.
Majerick.
He was on the phone. Let me look and see if he's still here. He should still be here.
Majerick.
Commissioner Majerick. Oh, now he muted.
Okay.
Oh. Commissioner Majerick. We're looking for a yes or a no on the consent calendar. But Commissioner Majerick. He muted again. I'm not sure what's happening. Oh, there he goes. Yes or no, Commissioner Majerick?
We can come back to him. Meeks.
Yes.
Borat.
Yes.
Werfel.
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Curran.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Majerick.
He's unmuted. Go ahead, Commissioner Majerick.
Majerick.
No, now he's muted again. I'm not sure. He's having technical.
Then them Tennessee mountains.
Yeah.
And that results in a vote of 9 yeas. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We do not have any added resolutions, so the next we'll go to is commissioner reports. Has anybody got anything on commissioner reports? Okay, I have one thing. I attended the LRSB meeting, and it was more of just accepting the minutes from our last meeting and also accepting our finance report from our secretary treasurer. For those of you who don't know, this has to deal with the LRSB is the local revenue sharing board, which is the tribe down here at the casino, gives 2% of their slot revenues to the LRSB, and then it is divided out per the compact and the local agreement by the percentages, and we don't do that until September, October. That's when we have a very long meeting and we approve all of this stuff. So for the 2 new commissioners, that's what that's about. And if anybody had any questions about that, I'd be more than happy to answer it. I've been on there 5 years now. So seeing that there's no other commissioners that have anything that they want to report on, we're going to go to the administrator. Your report.
Members of the board, nothing to report today. Thank you very much.
How was that vacation? That's something we need to report on.
I can do 20 minutes on my love of mountain biking and skiing. So if anyone wants to call me directly, I'll happily cover it.
But a good time was had by everybody, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yay, I'm glad.
Yes. All right. General public comments. Annette.
All right.
And Annette, how many people do we have watching this splendid meeting?
Well, you have 8 right now, but it's kind of been fluctuating between 15 and 8 and 10 and all over the place.
Okay.
The public comments, let me check one more time.
What?
Somebody might have their volume on maybe. Oh, it's Mike. I got it. I muted him. Okay, there we go.
That Major.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Majeric.
I saw his phone number come up.
Yeah.
All right, so for public comment, we have Tony Benhart from Sotos Township. He would like to thank Administrator Brian for his hard work and his true caring for his job in making Berrien County a great place to live and work.
Thanks.
I did ask him if you were paying him, of course, for his comments. He said no, I didn't. So, and there are no other public comments.
I'm blushing.
All righty then. Is there any other business that any of the board members want to bring up at the meeting today? All right, seeing that there is none, let's get into announcements and reminders. The first one is I've added is the BC bit is today. The broadband task force is today at 1:30. And then we have a land preservation meeting next Monday, April 19th at 2 p.m. We have a Parks and Recreation Committee meeting Wednesday, April 21st at 3:30 p.m.
Three.
Oh, it has 3:30 here on my printout, so.
Yeah, and on the announcement, it says 3. Which is it, Annette?
Well, I guess I don't know. I'm gonna have to check that.
Yeah, I saw that. It's two times. But I saw, do you know, Julie?
I got 3:30.
You have 3:32?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so 3:30.
okay.
But be ready, if you're planning on attending that, be ready by 3 o'clock, just in case. We never know these things. It can all change. It's very fluid here in the county.
Yes.
Our next finance committee meeting will be next Thursday, the 22nd at 9 a.m. The Board of Commissioners meeting next Thursday will be at 10:30 a.m. And there will also be a land bank meeting at 1 o'clock next Thursday. There is no board meeting on April 29th, as that is the 5th Thursday.
Yeah.
And we will not have any. So all commissioners need to know that Annette needs your per diems for April. She's going to need them before the first Thursday's meeting in May. And that's all I have. If anybody else has any announcements.
I have confirmed with Jill, the meeting is at 3 for Parks and Recreation. And I will be working with PHSC to try to do a meeting next Thursday at 8, because we do need to have a PHSC meeting. And I think
Okay.
that's it.
All right, and I'm sure that you will send out that notice and it'll be posted so public will know that they should attend that meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, we stand adjourned until next Thursday. Everyone have a lovely day today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.